why lie about it for so long?
I stopped calling it a lie.
Okay, this is why people don't trust Washington.
This is very different than any other situation.
And there is no other way to spin this today. This has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the character of Joe Biden.
I don't think that he was lying. I think he made a decision after the fact and decided this was the right thing for him and for his family.
So as you already know, President of the United States, Joe Biden, pardoned his son Hunter, and this has left the mainstream media and the ladies on The View in a very tight spot, because now what they have to do is defend the indefensible without being hypocritical. Yeah, let's see how that works.
I respect it as a parent. I understand why he would do it, but I wonder to understand why lie about it for so long.
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay, why repeatedly say you're not going to and you do? And secondarily, for the part of this country, half of it that doesn't support Biden, doesn't know him personally, doesn't get to have phone calls, and they're just looking at a system that seems like it only benefits the people who are in power. What precedent does that set?
Well, here's what it sets. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes, because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it. So I think, for many, many reasons, this is very different than any other situation that we have ever dealt with. Because when we're talking about who gets a pardon and who doesn't get a pardon, this man, I think Biden had no intentions of pardoning Hunter. And I think the more stuff that went down, I think he said, well, why am I busting my behind to stay straight and do this when nobody else is, when no one else is doing it?
I think he thought he was going to win, and I just wish he would have been honest with the public.
Okay, so the only thing about Whoopi's reaction is this. She's having a tough time trying to justify the president of the United States issuing a pardon for his son. If it was such an easy thing, if it was really logically sound and common sense driven, it wouldn't be so hard for you to justify why President Biden would do something like this. The fact that you're struggling, Whoopi, tells me, and by the way, in this video, you're going to see a lot of people struggle to justify this because it's so hypocritical. We know this, right? It just tells me that there's a clear double standard here. And this is not really good for America. It's not really good for what you guys claim to be democracy. And it definitely is putting your own personal agenda, your selfish reasons ahead of what's best for the country. But let's hear what Alyssa had to say.
Most Americans, if they face consequences for actions that they took, they're going to have to face them. And nobody powerful and politically connected is going to come sweep in and save them. And I think, this feeds the notion to a lot of this country that there's simply a different set of rules for folks in power. And when we sit here and we say a lot like, well, Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z, and how did he get elected? Because to a lot of this country, it just becomes noise. They think that if you commit crimes and somebody powerful and connected in D.C., right, left, center, Biden, Trump, you're going to be able to get away with it if you have someone on your side, and that's not how it is for everyday folks. Secondly, I take issue with lying about it. I wanted to ask him here when he came on The View, but the thought was he said so many times he wasn't going to pardon him. That, to me, is lying to the public. I felt bad for Karine Jean-Pierre that she repeatedly had to say that he wasn't going to pardon him. This is why people don't trust Washington. That's why they don't trust politicians. And I know a lot of us like Joe Biden, but I find it disappointing and bad for our institution.
Yeah, so Alyssa's just telling the truth out loud, right? Those ladies on that show, they know that what she just said is all facts. And so once again, it shows the double standard. And it also shows why they lost this election and will continue to lose election, because they refuse to accept what Alyssa is saying. Most of the country does not trust Washington. And when the president of the United States pardoned his son, whether you believe it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, it just continues to justify that sentiment. Now, question for you. Are you getting value from this video? If you are, please do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you do want to support us further, you could go to the link in the description below, shop the merch store, or you could buy us a cup of coffee. Speaking about the White House, here is the White House press corps pressing her about this. And all those times, KJP, you said he wouldn't do it. What's your excuse now?
You have said repeatedly yourself since the election, the president has said for months, no pardon was coming. I wanted to ask you, could those statements now be seen as lies from the American people? Is there really a credibility issue here given now this announcement?
First of all, one of the things that the president always believes is to be truthful to the American people. That is something that he always truly believes. And if you see the end of his, I assume that you've read his statement, and you look at the end of that statement, and he actually says that in the first line in the last paragraph, and respects the thinking and how the American people will actually see this in his decision making.
Now, I'm not shocked. I knew she wasn't going to answer any questions, but this speaks to what this whole video is about, and what we're exposing is the hypocrisy and their unwillingness to tell the truth. That's why you can't trust anything these people say, especially even the media outlets, which brings me to today's sponsor, Ground News. Head over to ground.news/Devori to check them out today. Now, allow me to show you how powerful this tool really is. Now, we're searching up this entire story about Hunter Biden being pardoned, and also the way that Trump reacted to it and how the media is covering it. And so what it's going to do is bring in all of the articles from the different media outlets and organize them across the political spectrum. So articles that lean left, and then articles that lean right. For example, here's an article that leans left. Trump shouts out J6 hostages in statement slamming Hunter Biden pardon. And then here's an article that leans right. Trump makes huge announcement after Biden pardons his son Hunter. Now, after comparing, you could see the bias in the reporting, which is why Ground News has this tool called the bias distribution score, which tells you overall which way does this story lean. Does it lean more to the left or more to the right? And there's another powerful feature called blind spot. Now, these are stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. And that's why I love Ground News, and you will love it too. So head over to ground.news/Devori, scan the QR code on the screen, or hit the link in the description or my pinned comment so you can get 50% off the Vantage plan, which will give you access to everything we covered in this video. That is ground.news/Devori. Now, what really gets me going about all of this when it comes to KJP is she doubles down on the lies. Listen.
He's saying his own Justice Department is broken, Karine.
He believes in the Justice Department. He believes that there
After
was
saying all that, he believes in the Justice Department?
This is his words. He said this. This is the president saying
He
this.
just said it's infected with politics.
I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making. I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfair prosecuted.
So how deep is the rot? How many selective prosecutions are there at the DOJ?
By him writing the letter, he opened up another can of worms. Number one, yeah, you may have pardoned Hunter Biden, but there's so many other people that if Trump really wanted to go after and uncover the scandal, he could. Even if Hunter Biden can never be prosecuted, even if Joe Biden himself will never be prosecuted, that still doesn't mean Trump won't actually investigate the crimes and at least show the American people, hey, here's actually what took place over the past 4 years and why I said everything I said. He could still do that. Now, number two is obviously the weaponization of the justice system. So wait a minute. When Trump says the justice system is weaponized, you say, no, it isn't. But then in your letter, you put, well, the only reason why he was prosecuted is because he was my son. Your justice system prosecuted your son. So are you saying it's been weaponized? And of course, KJP had to try to dance around that as well. Watch.
Does the president believe now and agree with President-elect Trump that the justice system has been weaponized for political purposes and that it needs root and branch reform?
No, read the president's statement. Seriously, read the president's statement. He said he believes in the Department of Justice. He does. He says it in his statement. He believes. He also believes that war politics infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. He believes his son was unfairly targeted.
So Karine is confirming everything I just said, but she still ends up saying, no, he didn't say that. Okay, so they're going to play around and continue to play games with the truth, but you know the truth, I know the truth, the American people know the truth, and they know the truth, that this right here is a personal decision. It's a selfish one. He's putting his own personal gain ahead of the American people. In fact, he's protecting the crimes of his son, and he's putting that above the truth that the American people deserve. Because, by the way, it was you, Joe Biden, it was your justice system that became very politicized, and you started targeting not only Trump, but you made sure that his family was targeted. His business partners were targeted. Now, speaking of the consequences, here's Scott Jennings tearing into Joe Biden and clearly stating what's going to happen as a result of this.
Joe Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows just about when it all started. He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace. He is a liar, and there is no other way to spin this today. This has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the character of Joe Biden.
Okay, so before I get into responding to what Scott Jennings said, just take a look at what I said on X. Joe Biden will go down in history as the worst or second worst president in history. No question. You know why? Because the history books will say a father pardoned his son. That's what it's going to say. It's going to say that during his administration, there was record inflation, record illegal migration. This is just a bad look overall for Joe Biden's legacy. It's already enough that he was forced out of the race. Now, of course, one of the excuses they're going to try to pull in response to what Scott Jennings said is, well, the circumstances have changed. He didn't really want to do this in the beginning. He only wanted to do it over the weekend. This came last minute. But the problem is we're not stupid, even though they think we are. And this defense conveniently shifts the goalposts, right? And it suggests that Biden's decisions are reactive rather than principled. It's his son. Of course it's principled, right? If fairness is the goal, why circumvent the judicial process? I mean, the only reason why he would do that is because he knows the crimes that he was convicted of, that's just the surface. That's not really an issue. It's if Trump gets into office, he appoints Kash Patel and Pam Bondi to go ahead and look into Hunter Biden. Then they're going to uncover some real crimes.
All a lie. It is all a grift. Every American, except the most partisan, brain-rotted people, are going to be outraged by this today. He is going to leave off. You think 39% job approval is bad? Just you wait. Just you wait. He's disgraced. Disgraced today. Outrageous.
You don't need to, but Scott, you don't need to hurl names and say people like me are brain rotted. Come on, that's a little beyond the pale, even for you, Scott.
Listen,
I disagree. We can disagree about this.
You don't have to defend this. He's leaving office. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to die on this hill. You can say this is wrong because everybody knows that it is. It's wrong. Are you fine with the lying? Are you fine with him sitting before the election all year and lying to the American people? Are you fine with the lying about it?
I don't think that he was lying. I think he made a decision after the fact and decided this was the right thing for him and for his family. Period. Full stop.
It's funny how she's so concerned about name calling, but not about the fact how this looks to the average American walking down the street, right? She doesn't care how this looks to the office of the presidency. She cares more about how Scott Jennings is describing this, and he's dead on with it. I mean, you've got to be outside your mind to truly believe that there's nothing wrong with this. Of course there's something wrong with this. Now, on one hand, from a sympathetic, emotional point of view, as a parent, you could understand. You probably don't agree, but you'd understand. But that's not what the office of presidency is all about. That's not what you were hired to focus on. You were hired to lead this country. And in that regard, in that conversation, this is an utter disaster. You want to talk about a legacy. Yeah, like I said earlier, this is all bad for his legacy. Now, obviously, her being concerned with the name calling is just stupid. It's lazy at best. But you know what's worse than the excuse that she just came up with? This one that I'm about to show you, that the only reason why Joe Biden had to do this is because he believed that Trump would weaponize the Justice Department. Okay.
When you have a president of the United States, an incoming president, effectively saying that he's going to weaponize the Justice Department to go after his enemies, when he called the Biden family, the Biden quote-unquote crime family, and made it very clear that he was going to do everything in his power to appoint people who were going to go after them, regardless of whether they committed crimes or not. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand which way the wind was going to blow. And as I said again, presidents should not have the ability to pardon, but it's very understandable when you have somebody like Donald Trump come in, why somebody might say, you know what, I don't want my son prosecuted for crimes that I haven't even considered that he may have done. And that, by the way, doesn't just apply to Hunter Biden. He's lucky his dad's the president. It applies to all of us who criticize Donald Trump.
Okay, and you also don't need to be a rocket scientist to know this already happened, but the other way around, meaning Joe Biden has appointed people that has gone after Trump, people who were clearly not guilty. Even the way the justice system treated the January 6ers, people who weren't even there, people who were there peacefully protesting, they've been sitting in jail over 3 years. Now they're finally being sentenced to prison. I mean, the miscarriage of justice goes sky high with all of this. So I don't want to hear about, well, you know, he had to do it because Trump was going to threaten. You guys have already done it. I don't care about hearing what Trump threatened to do. Show me what he actually did first. Now, not everybody on CNN is as deranged as the last two individuals I had to show you. Now, their chief legal analyst, he had some choice words for Joe Biden.
Well, I totally agree with the governor that this pardon will tarnish Joe Biden's legacy. I mean, Joe Biden, let's be clear here, he lied to us for a long time. He said categorically, I will not pardon my son. He said, I will take it off the table. And he couched it in very high-minded terminology. I respect the Justice Department. I respect the jury's verdict. Well, now he's gone back on that. I don't know how many people actually believed him. I certainly didn't. There's tape of me saying there's no way he's going to make good on this. He's absolutely going to pardon Hunter Biden.
So let's just get this straight. First, The View is claiming that he never lied, and we should stop saying that he lied. That's number one. Number two, The View also claimed, hey, this is the perfect thing that he should have done. This is his son. Everybody should understand. This is totally different than what happened with Trump. Then CNN comes on and clearly states, well, yeah, we also agree that he never lied, actually. And please don't do any name calling around this. And this is not a miscarriage of justice either. And then you have KJP, who has to continue to lie about the lie that she told, right? And now you have their chief legal analyst on CNN claiming, yeah, he did actually lie. I mean, they're all over the place, okay? Now, let me give you one more just out of touch reaction to this story. And this is really why the Democrats are going to continue to lose. Now, the former FBI deputy director, he claims that this will create more conspiracy theories.
I think that it definitely has the impact of generating more of that sort of speculation, right? The range of the pardon, the depth of the pardon, going all the way back to 2014. However, there are reasonable arguments that could be made to say that Hunter Biden was treated differently than other people who were engaged in similar criminal conduct and who would likely have not been prosecuted to this extent of the law. Hunter Biden endured a 5-year investigation in which these are the only charges that came out of it. So I think this narrative that he was the subject of some sort of unfair persecution, there is some facts to back that up. It's clear that the president believes that's what's going on here, and that most of it was targeted towards Hunter because of President Biden's role in the White House.
But let me remind you, Andrew, the conspiracy theories that conservatives continue to push over the last 4 years, in fact, 8 years, you know what they all have in common? At least 90% of them? They were true. I say all that because it's not a conspiracy theory. It actually happened, which is why it's dated from 2014 all the way to this year. Now, why would he do something like that? Because he knows the true crimes that he can't get hit on. Now, let's bring some more common sense to this conversation. Here's Michael Singleton telling the truth about this entire pardon on CNN.
And so there's a bit of a double standard. And I think a lot of voters out there look at this as, well, wait a minute here. constantly we were told that Donald Trump didn't respect anything, didn't respect the institutions, didn't respect any of these things. And Joe Biden was the one who was different, was better, was going to bring us back to normalcy. And yet the president decided, well, screw those things. I'm only going to care about what's in the interest of my family. And that's my personal issue. I get it, but I just think it smells of a double standard.
There's no way to argue that. It is a double standard. And by the way, I think Americans, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you relate to this type of attitude. Why not just come out and admit, hey, you know what? This is a double standard. I apologize to American citizens. I know how this is going to look. And let me just show you really quickly here exactly what I'm trying to tell you right now. Tim Pool put up this post on X. He said, Biden should have just said, I don't care what my advisors say. I don't care if you judge me. I love my son and I would sacrifice anything for him. And this is him responding to another post by Lulu, who wrote, the Biden pardon is a communication failure. And I am 100% on board with that. Most people can understand a father wanting to pardon his son. What really rubs them the wrong way is that the president is doing this after saying he wouldn't. And so let's just go back to that original reaction from the president-elect Trump. Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who have now been in prison for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice. Okay, so for your own personal entertainment, I'm going to show you a supercut of all of the politicians who clearly have Trump derangement syndrome, stating the classic words, no one is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
Okay, so let's really face the reality here. By Joe Biden doing this, is he truly avoiding any legal drama that could come to his family? No, in fact, I believe he amplifies it because he gave this his attention. And the point here is that he's in a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So if he does do the pardon, all it really does is just motivate Trump even more to go ahead and get some accountability done, because now it's Joe Biden trying to take things in his own hands and do it his own way. And that's not going to stop Trump or anybody who's going to watch him for accountability reasons to sit idly by. Okay, so I have a question for you that I'd like you to answer in the comment section below. If you were in Trump's shoes, what would you do now? Now that this pardon has taken place, would you actually direct the Department of Justice to investigate every single person a part of Joe Biden's family and everything that happened since 2014? Or would you just continue to focus on other things that are actually probably equally important, which is all the promises you made during your campaign, right? Which is ending the foreign wars, bringing down the cost of living, securing the border, et cetera, et cetera. Or are you the type of person that believes he could do both? Let me know your thinking in the comment section below. Now, of course, we know this story broke last night, and I had an initial reaction to it that I think you will definitely enjoy. And in that video, I'm going to show you a lot of the reactions on social media, all in real time as it happened. So if you guys want to check out that initial reaction, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.